it's a little wet, but it's good for our flowers and our grass, right? So I guess we'll look at the right tonight. Again, welcome to Mayor McLaughlin's summer coffee. We try and do these types of coffees twice a year, either spring, summer, or fall, winter. We'll have another one probably coming up in November. Mayor McLaughlin does send his regrets. He was planning on being here today. He had an unexpected meeting that he had to be at in the city, so he's unable to be here. But we do have a few of our trustees here. Shortly, I'm going to be introducing Trustee Kathy Fenton, who will come up here in a moment. But also we have newly elected Trustee Michael Harrell, who's here. So thank you so much. Before we introduce our next, before I introduce Trustee Kathy Fenton, I would like to, who stopped me, he actually is my former superintendent when I was growing up in school, is Dr. Bill Smith, who would like to talk about the upcoming spelling bee. So I cannot say no to him. So with that, Dr. Smith.
Thank you. For a school this spelling bee is not a school or children's spelling bee. It's an open spelling bee, open to anyone of any age from anywhere. This is the 37th Orland Open Spelling Bee. We do the 5th, 10th, every 5 years, 20th, 25th, in this room right here. The village co-sponsors it with the Presbyterian Church in Orland Park. 14 of the 36 winners have been senior citizens. And Mrs. Kathleen Foley is our grand winner. She last won her 8th trophy at age 78.
How old was the youngest?
13, Michael Sheehan from, we only had, the third contest, we only had 53 spellers. We had over 100 spellers. It takes about 3 hours, 500 words. The reason I'm here is not to get you to spell. It's the fact that you all know spellers. Aunt Sally, her daughter, her nephew. Remember, any age, starting at 8. Incidentally, a 9-year-old finished second. A 16-year-old from Crestwood won. 2 college students won. 32 adults won. Please take a flyer. I'll turn the poster around when you leave. And give it to a speller. A speller. You all know where they are in your family. We all know who can't spell. Incidentally, we're not very good at something. I have a suggestion. Follow my example. Read it, and you'll never be in it.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Now you know I could not say no to him when he said that he wanted to come and talk to everybody. So, with that, I'd like to introduce Trustee Kathy Fenton, who's been on the board for 22 years. Most of you probably already know her, so she needs no introduction. So, Trustee Fenton.
It's really nice to see everyone out here today in this lovely weather here. As Joe said, we need it for our flowers, we need it for our grass, and at the same time our water bill and conserves water for the community. It's wonderful that the senior citizens want to come out and be part of the community, and that's what we need. We need more involvement from everyone in the community, and I do come to a lot of your events, and it's wonderful to see everybody here, and everybody is still wants to try and probably who's better than better than I am. With that, I'm here today on behalf of Mayor McLaughlin and the entire board. We're glad that you're here, and we have a very special guest this afternoon, and she is homegrown Orland Park. Andrea Darlas is a graduate from Orland School on the University College Media's National Alumni Board, as well as U of I Campus Alumni Advisory Board. She also serves on a number of boards for charitable causes. During her 17 years at WGN, she has won many awards from the Associated Press and Illinois Broadcasting Association for anchoring, reporting, breaking news coverage, and investigative series reports. She has received 5 Silver Dome Awards for Best Newscaster and 2 prestigious Peter Mosner Awards on 1 television and 1 radio reporting. Andrea is the morning news anchor for WGN, weekend reporter for WGN TV, and contributor to the nationally syndicated television show Housemarque. I really watch that. Please welcome Orland Park's own Andrea Darlas.
It's an honor to be here, and a pleasure to be here. I feel like I'm coming home. I mean, I'm here quite often, so I'm coming home and literally coming home as well. I take a lot of notes, so I was just starting to take some notes. I didn't prepare. I like to kind of speak off the cuff, but it is a homecoming for me. Incidentally, Dr. Smith, I should say that I won the Prairie School Spelling Bee in 3rd and 4th grade. Yeah, I blew it in 5th grade. But, and it's funny, you always remember things. You know, the word that I misspelled was Halloween. And it's not because I didn't know how to spell it, but I didn't say capital H-A-L-L-O-W-E-E-N. Never forgot that again, though, too. Blew my 5th grade just right out of the water there. So anyway, it is good to be home. I grew up right here in Orland Park, just right by Silver Lake Country Club. Still play golf there. I see some of my golfing friends here, so hi, and thank you guys for coming on out. Appreciate that. It's always cool to see people that I know and friends come to speeches that I'm at as well. I don't know if I'm getting older or what, but you know when you become friends with your friend's parents. So I have to recognize a friend of mine's mom. My best friend from the time we're 6 years old is Gina Tuminello. And her mom, Mary, is now a good friend of mine, too. We keep in touch on Facebook. Thank you, Mary, an actress in the community as well. And my mom is here, too. I have to recognize my mom. You don't come to a lot of my speaking events, because they're not in Orland Park. So I said, I'm speaking in Orland. She said, oh, I'll be there. I'll be at that one. And her friend Libby is here as well, too. So thanks, you guys, for all being here. And thank you all for coming out. I know it's raining. I actually emailed Margie, and I said, we're still doing this, right? She said, why wouldn't we? Not going to let a little rain stop us from having a little presentation today. So I went to Prairie, I went to Jerling Junior High School, and I went to Andrew. So I'm a proud Thunderbolt. Sorry, Eagles. Go T-Bolts, right? Thanks, Jeff. But anyway, it's always fun to come home because it is always a homecoming. I always see people that they're in different positions or different jobs. When I walked in, Cindy, who's the general manager here, we looked at each other. You look the exact same, Cindy. I said, you worked at the Jewel. She said, yeah, did you? I said, yeah, I was Andrea D. Because that's how we all knew each other, by our first name and last initial. So yeah, I worked at the Jewel on 94th and 159th for 4 years while I was in high school. My mom made me go when I was 15 and a half and apply. So by the time I was 16, they would have accepted my application. That's a true story. So I worked at the Jewel. I loved it. It was great. It was disciplined. The only thing, though, when I would start my shift at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I could leave at about 3:55 and be there from where I live by Silver Lake. Now I'd have to leave probably an hour beforehand because of all the construction and how big Orland has become, to its credit. Incidentally, I do work on Housemarques. I try and, I try and keep our hometown in mind for everything we do. We're actually shooting Housemarques in Orland and Tinley on Wednesday, so that'll be very cool. We're shooting at the American Sales. We're doing a piece on above-ground pools. So if anybody wants to volunteer their backyard or their pool, see me afterwards. We'll put it on national television. So what I do now, I'm the morning anchor on WGN Radio, and I know some of you were asking immediately when I walked in today, yes, Steve Cochran was late. Yes, he is always late. Today was unbelievably abnormal. He was about an hour and a half late, so we just kind of punt when that happens. But I say that jokingly because I absolutely love what I do. I love WGN Radio, and I wanted to talk to you. A lot of you are familiar with WGN Radio. We're news, talk, sports, weather, information, and we try to keep it in the middle. We don't lean right like some of the other stations in town. We don't lean left like some of the other stations that are around. But it's always a lot of fun. It's always a challenge. I get to interview some great people. I put up our website for you to see here too. And what's kind of neat now is that we've kind of expanded. The web and social media is really kind of where everything is at right now. You know, I was joking about talking with Mary on Facebook, but I'm just curious, show of hands, Facebook pages. Anybody in here who has Facebook? Okay. So good. So maybe half in the room. We do a lot of Facebooking, Twitter. The stations encourage that now too, because it really is not only a networking tool, but it gets our message out a lot quicker. Radio used to be the most immediate form of media, if you will. So you would hear something and immediately turn on the radio, whereas TV, you'd have to wait till the 10 o'clock news to see what would happen. And it used to be, if it bleeds, it leads, fires, crime. That still kind of is the case for a lot of TV stations, if you notice. They're always trying to beat each other out to get the big story, which is always a fire, or a murder, a shooting, a crime. It's unfortunate. But what we're kind of doing now, we're moving a little bit away from that, and we focus on stories a lot now that are trending. So you hear those words, what's trending on the internet? That basically means, what are people looking at? You have to be careful with that, though, because you don't want to go to the other end of the extreme and do all stories on the Kardashians, or the Duggars, or Baby George. So what I put up on our screen, I figured I should probably have a visual, and PowerPoints bored the heck out of me, so I wasn't going to bore you guys to death. But, so this is our website, and what's very cool is I don't think we could do it on the laptop, but you can access anything that you think you might have missed. You know, if somebody tells you about a story or an interview, you can go on the website, and this is for any station too, really, TV, radio. You can go on, click on whatever it is, and I'm sure you hear this word thrown out a lot, podcast. We do a lot of podcasting, which is just basically our long-form interviews that are now available. You can click it here, or you can, I'm going to use the word, download it to your computer or your phone or your iPod, whatever you choose to listen to. So it just makes news and information a little bit more readily available. And it keeps people up to date. People always love to, and I do this too, reflect on the past and talk about the past. Spike Odell, if, thank you so much. You can just scroll down a little bit.
Oh, shoot.
That's okay, you know what, that's all right. Because that's a good example, that's all right. Because what that is Spike Odell used to be our morning show host for many years, and I had the privilege of working with him for about 5 years. So Dean Richards did an interview with Spike. So sometimes I'll say, you know, my mom and I talk every day, several times a day, which is good. I say that positive. So I'll say, Spike Odell was on this morning, and if maybe she missed it, now she can go to the website, and this is on any computer you can do this. You can even do this on your phone too, your iPhone, or your Droid, if you're a Droid user. Click right there. You don't have to click. I don't know if it'll play. Let's see if it plays. And then, there it is. So there it is. So anything now is, thank you, anything now is very accessible. You almost don't, we almost live in a world where you don't have to worry about missing something. And you almost don't have to worry about having to DVR or tape everything like we used to have to do. Everything is right here now, which can be a blessing and a curse. A lot of people ask me sometimes how we get our information, how we get news. We have ABC, we're an ABC affiliate, so we get a lot of our national stories that way. We're an Associated Press affiliate, so we get stories through AP and Reuters. We get a lot of our business stories. Orion Samuelson is our business reporter. He's been there 52 years. He's wonderful. He's a wonderful person. And thanks to him, we still have Reuters for all of our business news, too. So we get all of our information quickly and accurately, but we kind of live in a world right now where it is very focused on social media. So people say, students say this to me a lot, do you get your news from Twitter? Do you get your news from, do you get pictures from Instagram? Yes, but what we do is something will come across as a tweet. For example, the Charleston shooting. Somebody had put on Twitter, there's been a shooting at a church. Okay, that's good information to kind of store in your head, but then you always have to confirm it. So we really pride ourselves at WGN, and how I was taught as I was going through journalism school. Check your sources, double check your sources, and then triple check, because we don't want to air anything that's inaccurate. You know, and that's what I try and instill a lot of times in the college students too, when I talk to the high school students, when they pay attention and they're not doing this. We used to just pass notes. Now everything is digital. Which is fine. As I said, it's a blessing and a curse. But anytime we get some sort of a tweet or information, it's just like in the old days, you have to call and verify everything, which is what we do. But so yeah, so my answer to that when people ask me about social media is it's great, it's wonderful, but you always just want to make sure everything is accurate. I really do like our setup on our website too. It's pretty easy to navigate, and usually when you open the little search icon up there, which is hidden because of the screen, it's so big, you can search for anything that you want. Sports, Blackhawks. We have some great Blackhawks pictures, by the way. How about Go Hawks? 3, let's go for 4 next year. So I have the privilege and the honor of covering a lot of these great stories. I was at the Blackhawks rally last Thursday, which was very cool. On the trolley, yeah, I was on the trolley. That was a funny story. Things kind of, everything in our business, I think everything in life is a lot of hard work and a little bit of luck. And I was on that trolley because all of the media had these yellow credentials, which means you can go up and interview whoever you want, but you can't go on the trolley with the bigwigs. So as I was walking along, I saw my boss, and he said, "Oh yeah, I have an extra pass here. Do you want to go on the trolley with the Ice Girls?" So it's me and the Ice Girls. How funny was that? I can't even stand on ice skates, but they were very cool. So I was able to ride through the parade on the rally, or ride on the trolley through the parade and then to the rally at Soldier Field. So yes, it's a lot of fun. It's a great job. I'm trying to think if I have anything else that I have to spout off before I was going to open it up for questions too. I know there were a lot of questions. I can be as general as I can. I'll be a little specific too if anybody has any questions about the radio station or the TV station or house smarts or anybody I work with. People always tend to ask about Lou Manfredini. He's very cute. It's his real hair. He's a nice man. Very tall. Yes. Very tall. We were just very fortunate as well. I need to recognize a lot of my coworkers too. We just had a Walk of Fame ceremony. I don't know if some of you were familiar with that. We had a very tumultuous time at WGN Radio for a brief time. We had these owners come in and they wanted to change everything around. They said, they were just very sensational and they were not of the journalistic mind. They thought, if it sounds good or it's sensational, yellow journalism, put it on the air. And a lot of good people lost their jobs because they weren't going to do that. And the rest of us who stuck around and said, we're still not going to do that, we got lucky and kind of weathered out the storm. And now we have a great boss. His name's Jimmy DeCastro. He ran the Loop for a very, very long time. He's kind of a big name in media in Chicago. And Jimmy DeCastro was the one who came in. He said, you know what? The best thing about WGN is we're going to honor the past, live in the present, obviously, and then continue to move on into the future. And he's really the one who kind of catapulted our website and taking us into this next level of not just turning on the radio, but listening also on your computer and your phone, and this way too. It's just another option. I think it's kind of a better option too. So Jimmy came in and brought back Steve Cochran. So I get to work with him every morning. He's very fun. He is late sometimes, but he's a great, great guy. We love Steve very much. And I'm very fortunate to work with Dave Ennett and some of the other folks who've been there a long time, like I mentioned, Orion and Mary Vandeveld as well. And have known Spike and Wally and everybody, and Roy, God rest their souls, who are no longer with us, and the great Bob Collins. So it's been quite a ride. It's been very fun. I always smile when I come back because I remember covering city council. Orland Park was always great. They never had a lot of drama like other communities that I won't mention, Romeoville. That was always a treat to cover a Romeoville Village Board meeting because you never knew what was going to happen. But Orland Park was always near and dear to me. It was always a pleasure and an honor, and very admirable people. Everybody from the late Fred Owens, who was a gem, and to Mayor McLaughlin too, who really does a lot for the village. And the Board of Trustees, they're very great. You should be proud because Orland is very good, not only with the Village Hall, but with the police department, with Commander Keating and Police Chief McCarthy, everybody at the police department and fire department. They're very good with the media. Sometimes there's this adversarial relationship between the press and the police. And I think it's just a lack of trust because the police don't want to give out too much information and they think we will. So it's kind of this fine line that we walk, but it could be difficult too, because sometimes that lack of communication is what sends people into a panic. But the village, the police department, they are great about sending out notifications, keeping us informed so we can keep you informed, and just having that back and forth. Same with the village too, so you should be very proud, very honorable and admirable community. And I'm not just saying that because I'm from here, but it's always a lot of fun. And with that, I know I'm talking kind of a lot. If anybody has any questions, please let me open up the floor. Yes.
I just wanted to say that I've been watching or listening to WGN since Eddie Hubbard.
Okay. She's been listening to GN since Eddie Hubbard. Eddie Schwartz, right? And Eddie Hubbard.
Yeah.
The Eddies. They were just honored. Eddie Schwartz was just honored on the Walk of Fame too. Oh, I kind of went off of that topic. We just honored 10 great stars of WGN. Again, honoring the past and then the present as well, and then keeping it going into the future. So we honored Lou Manfredini and God, there were so many. Ward Quall, Franklin McCormick, Orion Samuelson's on there, Spike O'Dell, Bob Collins, Kathy and Judy. They're still with us. If anybody listens, on Saturday we really have a nice kind of a retro mix. We have Kathy and Judy, John Williams, Lou is still on there. Yeah, Steve Bertrand. Oh, he's not a good guy. No, I'm kidding. He's a good guy. we tease each other a lot. He's kind of like the brother that you never had and never wanted. I am an only child. That's right. I feel like I'm an open book, aren't I? Yes.
Does, no, there it goes.
Oh, it's okay. I have that too.
Okay, go on and talk and then I come up.
All right, that's good. I'll come back to you. Okay. Yes.
I was curious, say something about how your career has changed from the time you first went into it in terms of the journalism side, and then how it has changed, say, in the last 5 years. What's it like now?
It's a great question. She asked how my career, journalism, has changed in the last, since I started in the last 5 years. When I always knew I wanted to be a reporter or a journalist. In fact, you want to talk about essay contests, Dr. Smith, which I won in 4th grade. I literally did. We took a tour, our school took a tour of the Chicago Tribune, and that's back when they had the printing presses at the facility at Chicago and Halstead. It was called the Freedom Center. It was a huge, massive facility, which I think is still there, but they have significantly downgraded now because print is, I don't want to say it's becoming obsolete, it's just not as prevalent anymore, because now you can get everything right on your phone. So we took a tour of the facility, and I saw a couple of people who were sitting in a room, and I said to the tour director, what are they doing? He said, oh, those are the copy editors. And I thought, well, I like spelling, I like reading, I wanted to be the copy editor. So I wrote an essay on wanting to be the copy editor. And in my 4th grade mind, I thought, oh, there's one person sitting there doing all the copy editing. And back then it was by hand. It really wasn't, or typewriter, you know, there really weren't computers back in the Stone Ages. So I wrote this essay. I wanted to be the copy editor for the Chicago Tribune and won the essay contest. So that's kind of the direction that I started in, wanting to work in as a reporter. And then I went to the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana and took broadcast journalism and minored in English and speech communication. And we took, the University of Illinois, it has a great program which doesn't really get a lot of recognition. I know Mizzou and SIU are great journalism schools as well, but U of I really is. And we had to do our radio final exam on a reel-to-reel. And I did mine on, there's a family-owned pizza place in Champaign called Garcia's. It's no longer there. But these two brothers owned Garcia's Pizza, and they would fly around in a hot air balloon. And so I interviewed them for my final project. I put it on the reel-to-reel. The reel snapped in half. So I got a C+ on the final. And I said, well, why? And he said, because the reel snapped in half. I said, well, how am I going to control the reel snapping in half? But he let me redo it. I got a B. So that's how the technology, I think, would be number one that has changed. When I started at WGN in 1997, we were still using 8-track carts to put audio on. So we would go out and do interviews, and we would have to use, have you guys ever heard of the term the roach clips? Not for that. I'm watching you people. On the telephone, you would take these roach clips. They were little clips. So I would do an interview with you, put it onto the phone, and that's how I would feed the audio back to the station. And that was 1997, 1998. So that's pretty recently. So technology has really, really changed and skyrocketed. We had typewriters. My first job was at WJOL in Joliet. I worked there for 4 years. We had typewriters. Everything we did was typed out. We had the rip and read. That's how we found out when Princess Diana died. And I saved that wire copy too. Not in a morbid way. I just thought it was, maybe it would be of value someday. But so we'd rip off the stories, and we had these spikes up on the wall for entertainment, sports, news, business, and it was literally rip and read. So that's where the term came in, on the dot matrix printer. And again, it was I worked there 94 through 98. And then when I came to WGN, we still used 8-track cards probably until about 2000. So only 15 years we've been doing digital audio. And it has just, it's changed, even in 15 years, it's changed so much for the better. So now when I go out on a story, I started out with a big tape recorder of Marantz. Then it went to a little mini disc player. Now I can do all the interviews on my phone, and I can edit it too. So digital editing has really, the technology has become wonderful. That, I think, is the biggest change that I've seen. You still need the ethics and the writing. I mean, it all boils down to the way you write and your delivery too. But I think those have been the biggest changes. Long answer, sorry. I tend to talk a lot. Do you have any other questions? Yes, sir.
Can you, in layman's terms, explain how the delay is AM radio real time, and then on the phone it seems like there's about a 40-second. Is that accurate?
That's a great question. He asked about the delay that we have on the radio. TV has a delay as well. So you think it's 40 seconds? Anybody, any other guesses for how long you think are?
7 seconds.
Used to be 7. 14. Isn't it? And 14 seconds seems like a very long, it seems short. You think 14 seconds, that's fast. But if you really count it out, it's plenty of time to drop somebody who drops an F-bomb on the air, which has happened. And last week, oh, Corey Crawford, yeah, God bless him. We love Corey Crawford. We didn't quite catch that one. That is, for live events, there's no delay. So that's why Corey Crawford was able to, yeah, unless you have an engineer sitting there. We did have an engineer 2 years ago for the rally sitting there kind of monitoring, because Corey Crawford is awesome, but he's a goalie, so he's a little bit of a loose cannon. So we were waiting for it. We got it the last time, but we did, because when he came up to the podium, for those of you who missed it, that was the first word out of his mouth, so they didn't catch that. So that got on the air. And of course, then Mark Sapelsa and everybody on TV came back and apologized. They said, we apologize for the profanity from Corey Crawford, but it is a 14-second delay.
That's on the call in. What I'm thinking about is, if you're listening to the stream.
That's longer. Yeah, that's a little bit longer. Yeah, that's a great question, because you can listen to the radio on the stream. You can watch TV on the stream too. WGNTV.com. Both. Not every station does that. So you can't watch, I don't think, The Good Wife or whatever you want to watch on your phone. That has to be, I think they wait 24 hours to post those. But on the stream, it's probably, it's closer to 2 minutes. It's a while. And you know what you can do is, I wish I could show you guys this. Can you click where it says watch on the top, right? Yeah, up left, right there. So click that. So we're going to watch this. This is a live stream of WGN Radio. Who's on the air right now? It's going to be Bob Surratt and Marianne Murciano, if they're there. I know, I joke, I say that they get so much vacation time, right? Those of you who listen know I'm right. They're always on a cruise or in the Amazon or the rainforest or somewhere. So we must be in a commercial break, because this comes on when we're in a commercial break. So you'll watch, and it's funny on the stream, because Spike will text us and say, tap your head or touch your nose, and we'll do it. It takes forever. The stream takes a little bit longer to do that. Oh, it didn't come up. Okay, but you can try it at home. So it does take a little bit longer. Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, okay. John Williams.
Yeah.
Now, does he is he coming back and forth? Okay,
John Williams.
On Saturday.
Yeah, John Williams is on Saturday, and he used to be at the radio station, and now he is in Minnesota.
Correct.
He moved his family up there. He does that from his home studio. Is it on behind me? Oh, we get to watch the ads, yeah. Isn't this a joy? This is my least favorite thing about the internet right now, is that when you click on something, you have to watch an ad. And it's usually a 60-second ad, and you have to watch the whole thing, and you don't get the option to skip through it. That really bothers me for news stories. Because if you're going to watch something fluffy on Entertainment Tonight, or, about whoever, Renee Zellweger's new face, that's fine that that's sponsored and advertised, but I think when you watch a news story, they should get right to the content. Okay, so yeah, this is a great example. This is us right now, and there's monitors all around the room too, but I'll just refer to this one. So this is our studio. This is the radio station. Bob and his wife are on the air. So that's a camera. This is where I normally sit. Marion's in my seat. So that's where we sit. That's a different angle, and then this is the rest of the radio station. The newsroom, then traffic, business, and then sports. So this is great. It's unfortunate though sometimes because we always forget there's cameras on us. And I'll sometimes get, how's that egg McMuffin? I'll get an email or a text, how's that breakfast tasting? And I'm going, forgot I'm eating on screen in front of all these people. So yeah, so right now if we were to, I guess I could call her and tell her to touch her nose and we could time and see how long it takes. That's Esmeralda Leon in our traffic, Kim Gordon in our newsroom, Orion's in business, and sports taking a break. Go figure, right? Sports.
What time is Bob Surratt on? We lost track of...
Yeah, he's on right now. He's on from noon until 3 o'clock, Monday through Friday. Bob is great. And his wife is really nice too. They're very sweet. Very nice couple. They're very good. I was joking because I said when they're there, because they have a lot of vacation time, we tease them. We're just jealous.
Other pictures of the people you work with?
Pictures of people I work with? Yeah, you can go to, if you go up to shows, okay, excuse my back, click on shows. This is why I really like our website. It's very easy to navigate. Oops, excuse me. And then you can click on anybody you want. So if you click on Steve Cochran, that's the show that I work on. And you know what? If you search, we have a great search engine too. Sorry, this is crackling. We have a great search engine too, way up on the top right. So if you click on anybody's name, say you want to search for me or Cochran or Spike or Kathy and Judy, all of their podcasts will pop up. Or if you missed an interview or if you missed a story that you wanted to see, you can listen to it or just go back to it too. And I also like the fact that our website puts text, which sometimes, if you click on a website or a news story, you have to watch the video. I always like the text there too, because then you could go back and reread it, or if you miss something, sometimes the video is not always enough. So, yes sir, Dr. Smith.
How did you get involved with the Crisis Center?
Oh, the Crisis Center. Kathy Mahoney, who does so much for the Crisis Center. Actually, Kathy and Maureen Neiswanger kind of recruited me. Remember we went to lunch? Yeah, you guys bought me lunch. Did I buy you? No, you bought me lunch, that's right. Yeah, I wouldn't pay. Kathy and Maureen. My mom used to work at Best Friedheim Jewelry, right here on 151st Street, before she took retirement at 42. And by the way, I've been at WGN for 17 years, and people say 17 years, oh my gosh, it'll be 18 in November. But I always say I started when I was 10. So anyway, getting back to your question, sir. My mom worked at Best Friedheim Jewelry. Maureen was a frequent customer, and she came in and they started talking, and I think they had an MC who backed out or something, and somehow they got to talking, and my mom said, oh, talk to Andrea. And Maureen and myself and Kathy went out to lunch, and they sold me. They said, it's a facility that really is near and dear to me now. I don't think you can really get a feel until you go and you tour it and you see it and you see the dedication by all of these women and these directors, how much blood, sweat, and tears literally that they put into it. And then neat repeats too. All of our donation centers are wonderful. You go in any time of day and they are tirelessly working and sorting and making sure, and everybody who works there and then volunteers their time, I mean, they really, it's a great cause, it's a great facility, and it really has helped. So how many women has it helped now, Kathy?
Over 55,000.
55,000 women and children have been helped by the Crisis Center. So I expect to see all of you at our dinner dance and our golf outing. Our golf outing is August 11th, and our dinner dance is usually in February. So please go to our website. It's crisiscenter.org, crisisctr.org. Yeah. And if you go on, I have a page too. I link to it on here as well. And I have a Facebook page too. So I'll always link events. But it's a great organization, and I would highly encourage everybody to donate their gently used items to Neat Repeats or buy new items. That always helps too. It's a great cause, great organization. Anybody? Yes?
Do you miss working with David Kaplan at night?
Oh, no, not at all. I love David Kaplan. You know, it's funny, the other day, he teases me a lot, because I'm smarter than him. But he teases me a lot, and people say, is he really that mean to you? And I said, no. And I said, Cap, I've known for years. I've known Cap 15 years. And before that, when I was really little, I used to listen to him on the radio. So I tell him that all the time. He loves hearing that. Yeah, loves to hear that part. I do miss him very much. He's a great guy. He's funny. Did you hear the other day when he set off the smoke alarm? We called him, and Cap doesn't cook. His wife cooks. His wife is the marketing director for Lou Malnati's Pizza. She's a wonderful woman. So they're married. He has a son and she had 3 sons. So between the 2 of them now they have 4 boys. So he was trying to cook breakfast for all of them and set off the smoke alarm while he was doing a report on the air with us. So the fire department came. So in true David Kaplan fashion, he takes a picture with all the firemen who have just come to his house to extinguish this, kitchen fire that he just had, and he put all the pictures on Twitter. So I think they were on our page too at one point. You can search for that as well. But yeah, I do miss David Kaplan. He's a great guy. Most of the people I'm pretty much everybody at WGN, it's really like a family. They're really good people. We've been through a lot together. I tease about Steve and Cap, but they're great people. Very fortunate. Yeah.
You say he used to give you a very hard time on that program.
He did. Sports Night. That was the show. Yeah, myself, David Kaplan, and Brian Noonan, who's from South Suburbs as well, although he's moved, so I don't know if we still hold him in high esteem. Brian Noonan does a show on Sunday nights with Karen Conti. He's a Southside guy, Southsider, and he moved to Berwyn. Yeah, I know, right, Berwyn. Or you get your choice of Orland or Berwyn, come on. Yes?
So you've given us a big broad view of
Yes.
many things, so give us an idea of what 1 or 2 of your days in the week might be like.
Sure, that's a great question. She wants to know what one of my days would be like. So for example, my weekdays are a little bit different than my weekends. My weekdays are at WGN Radio. So I wake up, let me start this. My alarm goes off at 3 o'clock. I roll out of bed about 3:10. 3:11. Isn't it funny how you set your alarm for odd times? 3:11 is usually when I roll out of bed. And then the first thing I do now is I'll put on my iPad or my phone and just see what happened overnight. Because I go to bed pretty late, which is not good, but I usually go to bed about 9:30, so sometimes I'll watch the 9 o'clock news to get an idea of what we're going to talk about in the morning. But the first thing I'll do is I'll fire up the phone or the iPad. My mom is great too. I was talking about print newspapers before. My mom reads the paper cover to cover. She does it. She clips little articles for me, that it might be of interest or, special interest features, things like that. I'll go through some of that. So I'm up early and kind of starting to work and kind of getting the wheels in motion, if you will. And then I get to the radio station about 4:15, usually 4:15. Stop and get coffee, and then just hit the ground running from there. I have the privilege, the honor of hosting the first 40 minutes of the show. So we make it a news wheel. We make it anything that happened overnight that's breaking or that people are going to want to know for the start of your day. We call it the look ahead. And that's podcast too, if you ever want to listen to that. If you get up later than that and you want to hear it, it's podcast on our website as well on the Steve Cochran Show page. So the first half hour of the show is very newsworthy. Today we had an update on Charleston, the vigils that were held over the weekend. And we also talked to reporter Mary Bruce, who's in Washington, about the trade bill, because they could finally have a resolution to the trade bill this week. So we talked to those two, and then we goof around a little bit with each other. Dave Bennett was in New York, so we talked about, he went to the House of Jerky and bought kangaroo flavored beef jerky. So we do have fun. We laugh a lot. Then after that, after the show, I mean, the show is very intense. It's, you know, we're on from 5 to 9, and then after that, we have a post-show meeting to talk about what we're going to do tomorrow. Monday's our look-ahead day. So today I bring news items to the table. Supreme Court's going to be voting on gay marriage and Obamacare, I know. Obamacare on Thursday. So I'll bring that to the table, just so we get an idea, so we're all kind of on the same page of what to look for the week. And then after that, I kind of go into reporter mode. I go back in the newsroom and follow up on any stories that need to be followed up on. Today, for example, I did Jesse Jackson Jr. was released from his halfway house and now he's on home confinement. So make a few phone calls, do a few stories, come and speak to a wonderful group in Orland Park is on my agenda for today, and then different things throughout the week. Saturday and Sunday I work at the TV station, so I'm lucky, I use that word so generously, I'm lucky enough to have the same hours on the weekend, so I wake up at 3 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday as well. And that's a little bit different. Those are usually, I'm kind of on the crime patrol at Channel 9 because I start so early, and as I said before with TV, see, it's come full circle. If it bleeds, it leads is usually what you see on the TV news at night. So when I come in the morning, I'll usually follow up on a shooting or a fire or a crime story. Yesterday, I was lucky. I didn't have to, I just followed up on Charleston, South Carolina. So, which was a prayer vigil, but still tied back to shooting. So that's kind of my weekend. That's kind of what my week is like. I sleep sometimes, on occasion. I like to play golf. I don't play too often, no. Right, Kathy? Kathy's a great golfer, by the way.
Well, we hear you're a great golfer, too.
I'm okay. I don't play enough. I need to practice more. I need a good golf pro. I'm kidding.
Do you get to vacation at all?
You know, I do travel. I love to travel. I used to travel a lot more. Just now, there's not a lot of time to do it anymore. I'm hoping to go back to Scotland on a golf trip in the fall. I went a couple of years ago, and it was very fun. I do like to golf. I'll take a lot of my trips based around that for a little R&R. Although I don't know why, that's not relaxing, right? No. When I shank every shot. When I'm walking away with 8s on every hole. Is there any other questions? Yes?
What is Max Armstrong up to now?
Max Armstrong is still involved with WGN Radio. He is the vice president of a national company. It's kind of like a national agriculture television station, but they do a lot of their stories on the internet as well. Max Armstrong is still hosting the Saturday morning show with Orion on our radio station, which is great. We love him. He's a wonderful, yeah, we love Max. He's a rascal. He's a good guy. Yes, that's it. Yes, ma'am.
I'm hearing more and more of Spike O'Dowd going commercial
Mm-hmm.
WGN. Is there any chance that he's going to come back?
She asked if Spike O'Dell might come back. He has been asked repeatedly, and he is enjoying retirement. You know what though? It's a good question because he keeps the line of communication open. We have him on the show sometimes. Cochran and Spike co-hosted from Nashville when the Blackhawks played down there. But he's really happy in retirement. They offered him a really nice incentive to come back and said you can do a weekend show, you can do it from your house in Nashville, but I think he has 4 grandchildren now? Either 4 or 5, I know 4 for sure. So he's very happy. He has a beautiful home on a lake, on a golf course, and he'll come back every now and again. I wouldn't be surprised if he pops up on occasion, but not permanently because he's very happily retired.
I like the way he does it, though.
Yeah, he pops in every now and again.
Beautiful, and he does a commercial.
We can have him on this week if you want.
I'm sorry.
We can have him on this week if you want. Okay. I'll text him.
Crazy lady.
The crazy lady. He'll say, oh, I know her. Yes, ma'am.
Why are many of the programs so tightly timed?
Oh, that's a great question.
Time for this person and so much for that.
Why are so many of our elements in our show so tightly timed? So funny. Before I got here, we had a timing meeting. I'm not kidding you. Here's this strange reality of the world we live in now. Have you heard of the Arbitron ratings, or the Nielsen ratings? The radio station used to be judged on these ratings, and it was a huge sampling, and they were called diaries. Maybe some of you even participated in this. But what it would be is, can I use you as the example? So say, what's your name?
Marianne.
Okay, so say Marianne held a diary, and this is probably up until about 3 years ago. So she would mark down, it literally would be like this, and she would mark down, at 10 o'clock I listened to Kathy and Judy. At noon I put on the mix because I wanted to hear some pop or rock and roll. About 3 o'clock I put on BBM because I wanted to hear the traffic. And at 9 o'clock at night I listened to Milt Rosenberg because I wanted to hear about the history of the Minoan civilization. So she would write all of that down, and that was a very accurate sampling of how we are rated. So WGN for years was #1. Bob Collins had numbers that were through the roof, and Wally Phillips. Those numbers will never be matched again because now we live in the world of what's called people meters, portable people meters. They're like little pagers. Now, here's the worst part of this. Guess an Arbitron sample, there were thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, almost millions of people. It was a very accurate sampling of who was listening to what, because everything was written down. Now in this computer world, our listeners are these selected people wear these pagers. Guess how many pagers there are? They're called portable people meters, PPMs. You guys are going to fall over when you hear how many there are. 2,000. 2,000 people in the city. There's 3 million people in Chicago. Okay, so that gives you they are so inaccurate, I think. And here's another thing too. So say Marianne's wearing her pager and she's listening to WGN and she said, God, this morning show's so great. That news anchor's awesome. Everything's great. So she's listening. You don't even have to write anything down anymore. That's out the window. They're monitoring you. So you walk around. But say you decide to go to the gas station, you decide to go to the BP over on 143rd, and you walk in and they're playing 103.5 KISS FM. That registers. And then you go to the mall, and you go to the Hallmark store, and you're going to buy a card for your husband or your daughter or your son, and they're playing elevator music. They're playing 100.3. That registers. So it's a very inaccurate sampling. But all of the bosses live and die by these people meters. So that's kind of the long-winded answer of how we're judged. And timing, you go back to the timing question. These 2,000 people, you can literally tell when people tune in and tune out. So if I start my newscast and they think, wow, that's really interesting, and then we get to Dave Bennett's sportscast and they think, oh, this is so boring. I'm using him as an example because I love him and I could joke with him. You can literally see when people are stopping to listen. So in this world, they think the tighter you are, the better. So we just had a timing meeting. Our newscast used to be 2.5 to 3 minutes. Now they want them 2. So that requires a little juggling on our part. I mean, because we all think our elements are the most important. I think news is the most important. But what used to be 7 stories, I'll have to now do is 4. Or I can try and get 7 stories in, but just put a line or 2 about each of them. So it makes it really difficult for us. A sports report is supposed to be 30 seconds. It never is. A business report, 30 seconds. It never is. So our managers are really, they want to see if these are accurate. So we did have a timing meeting. And they said, try and stick to your time, your 2 minutes, and then your 30 seconds, and let's just see if this is an accurate sampling of when people are tuning in and tuning out. So we're kind of handcuffed in a way, but I think we do a disservice to the listeners by keeping it that tight, but I think we're about to find out if people want more of the elements, news, traffic, sports, weather, or more talking and goofing around. So we're about to find out, but it's a really good question. Yes?
I'm still going back to the timing.
Okay.
When the sports guys are on in the evening, they just go and do whatever they want, say whatever they want. There's no timing at all. They just have 2 hours to talk.
And I know, and that, you mean as part of the sportscast or just the show?
But no, the show.
Yeah.
I mean, they are not scheduled for anything so minutely as the other shows.
Tell me their names. No, I'm kidding. No, I know. Yeah, we all need to be better on timing, on keeping it clear and concise. Because that's what they say all of you want. Just clear, concise, quick, get it out, get it done. Kind of like when we talk, Mom, right? Just get to the point, get it out. I'm kidding. Yes?
How many minutes do you have for yourself in a 24-hour day?
About 6. No, I do take a nap in the afternoon. I have to take a nap. I'm one of those people. Now, Mary Vandeveld, who I work with, she's crazy. She never naps. She's got 3 kids. Yeah, she's up at 3. She jogs. She's crazy. She jogs like 3 miles a day. She doesn't take a nap. I don't think she's human. She does sleep in her car. That's a true story. She sleeps in her car and ran over a squirrel one time too, despite the fact that she'll lie and say she didn't do it. Yes?
I find that more and more, when you listen to the radio, they're talking so fast
Yeah.
that you can't process it. Of course, we're getting older, but still in all, I think that
I agree.
it's so fast.
I agree. She said when we talk sometimes it's really fast on the radio. I feel sometimes, especially after we have a timing meeting, I feel like I'm rushing through it a lot, and I think we have to make a conscious effort to slow it down. Because that does nobody, you're right, it's a disservice. Because you can't, you're in the radio. It's funny, we also live in this world where we could hit pause and go back and listen to something else. And I find myself in the radio, or in the car sometimes listening, and I'll say, wait, what did they say? Or you tune out, and then you want to go back, but you can't. So you're right, we do tend to speed it up sometimes, which is not good. I'll tell everybody else they have to work on that. Yes, sir.
How come you got so many commercials?
How come we have so many commercials? Oh, boy. Can I just tell you, that is one of the biggest complaints that our listeners have and that we have too. We did a segment today in the show, and it was a sponsored segment. It was about a 10-minute segment on financial planning. And that's okay, that's great, that's interesting. But we had to use this particular person who wasn't really, how do I put this nicely, interesting? So it was about a 10-minute segment of just kind of this droll voice. And I said afterwards, really, did we have to do that? And they said, yep, they pay the bills. So we get that, and you know what, if you listen to BBM too, I do listen to BBM, for traffic and weather on the 8s, but that's it, not news. Or sports, or talk. But we do hear that. It's so unfortunate. I know, they put these spots, and what we try and do anymore is put them in blocks, so you'll hear more of them, but less frequently. So, if you can just get through that 3.5-minute spot break, we call the commercial spots, then you'll be okay for the next 15. So it's all because of the sponsors.
On Comcast, it's about 25 minutes out of every hour.
Oh, on Comcast. Comcast does a lot too. Yep. It's because David Camplin makes too much money. Yes.
Nick DiGilio bounced around in time slots. Is he pretty well found the morning one? Or?
Yep. Nick DiGilio is our overnight show host, and he's there to stay. Knock on wood. Unless he decides to leave. But he's great. Yeah. He's a really hard worker. He's been there 25 years. He looks like he's about 10. He really does. Yeah, he's about this tall. He's manic. He doesn't, I don't think he sleeps either. Doesn't drink coffee, doesn't eat sugar, yet he's, manic. Maybe because he doesn't drink coffee. I drink too much. Yes?
You think the station will try and get back the Cubs or the Bears?
That's a really good question. I'm glad you brought that up. Bears maybe, White Sox maybe. Not the Cubs. And here's why. The Cubs, with their management shift, with Theo Epstein and Jed and the Ricketts and that whole group, what happened was the radio station had the Cubs for so long. And I'm a diehard Cub fan. I know I'm Southside, but I've always been a Cub fan. My father was a Cub fan, so I was raised as a Cub fan. It broke my heart when we lost the Cubs on a personal level. But what happened was it was a really bad business deal. It had been set up for this contract that kept making the Cubs a lot of money. And WGN Radio, for the 2 years leading up to the end of that contract, lost $8 million and then $7 million. So when it came up to renew, the Cubs wanted an additional $14 million. And we said, we just lost $15 million, and now you want, in addition to that, another $14 million. So it would have been a ridiculous business decision. So I understand why they did it. And on a team that, I hate to say it, but I know now they're good, now they're pretty good. But on a team that just was not making any money, you know, it didn't make sense to keep it. So I understand the decision, but it kind of broke my heart too. I think they're locked into BBM now for, 6 years or 8 years. I'm not quite sure how the extent of the contract, but it's a long time. So I think eventually the Cubs will be back on WGN, like the song says, but I don't think it's going to happen before that unless GN forks over a lot of money, and I don't see that happening. But the White Sox are on the table, and the Bears maybe. White Sox would be more of a reality, I think, on GN.
We have the 3 Bears and...
Oh yeah, the 3 Bears, yeah. Dan Hampton, Glenn Kozlowski, and Bradovich, yeah. OB, yes.
What's the little monitor on there?
Oh, is this the microphone? My brooch? Yeah, this is a microphone. Is that, I guess it's for this. I didn't have anything to clip it on because I was wearing a skirt, so, or dress, I mean.
WGN hasn't really lost any ratings or anything.
No, our ratings are good. Our ratings are good. When we were in the dark ages with Randy Michaels and a lot of unpopular hosts who were at the station, the ratings really took a dive. And you know, what they focus on a lot is this target demo of 25-54, which is crazy because I know 60 plus, our demo for the longest time was 65 plus, and then it went to 55 plus, and really that's who spends the money, right?
Right.
So not somebody who's 21 years old, they're not going to spend money, they're going to go to McDonald's or Taco Bell. So now they've kind of brought the audience down a little bit, but we're focused more on that the upper demo now too. So I think that's why our ratings have, I think we've done a pretty good job at bringing people back who left and now trying to keep people. And now trying to keep everybody. Yes.
You said WGN TV.
Yes. Yes.
Why did WGN stop their worldwide broadcasting?
Great question. Why did WGN stop their worldwide broadcast? That was a decision that was made at a very high level. And I have friends who live in Tennessee, all over the place. Florida, right? You can't get it in Florida anymore.
Vegas, Missouri.
Vegas, yeah. I hope that changes soon. I would anticipate that would change for the better. Because that's the biggest complaint that they get is that you can't get WGN TV outside of Chicago.
They're not broadcasting Cubs. But you got Cubs fans all over the world.
I know, right? And the Cubs are actually good this year too. So, well, thank you very much. This has been fun, and please, check out our website, check out the radio station, email me anytime. Let me know of any thoughts you guys might have, and thank you so much for welcoming me back today. I had a really nice time. Thank you very much.